Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. High-level meeting being sought with senior members of the PNP who resigned last Friday. St. Catherine councillors oppose transfer of Chief Public Health Inspector. And later in sports, Premier League players hesitant in taking COVID-19 vaccine. I'm Giovanni Dennis and here are the details. Days after the resignation of 4 senior members of the People's National Party PNP, analysts are weighing in on the way forward for the Mark Golding-led organization. On Friday, the party chairman, along with 3 vice presidents, resigned from their positions in protest over what they described as disunity and a glaring lack of trust. We continue our coverage of this story, beginning with O'Shane Masters.
Attorney at law Kenyatta Powell says since losing state power in the general elections of 2016, the PNP seems to have not found its footing. He argues that since then, there have been a few internal elections which have soured the dynamic of the party. Mr. Powell says despite personal feelings, the political philosophy of the party should have held it together. He pointed to former US President Donald Trump, who, despite his leadership style, had the backing of his Republican Party 90% of the time due to the philosophies held.
You're going to have personality clashes. You're going to have people who don't like each other, right? The question is there something else other than raw political ambition and just the desire for state power that binds people together in a political party so that the organization can survive?
Political scientist Damian Gordon says what transpired on Friday shows that the unity which the party seeks is far from the reality now. He says that this unity is what cost them the last 2 elections. Mr. Gordon further noted that if there is to be any challenge to the Andrew Holness-led government, the PNP needs to address the issues head-on.
Certainly the public is now under the impression that there is a crisis in the People's National Party. As Kenyatta said, the rift seems to be an extension of a rift which would have started from as far back as 2006 with two bitter presidential contests between Mr. Simpson Miller and Dr. Peter Phillips.
But former PNP General Secretary Paul Burke has rubbished the claim that the issue started from the leadership challenge between Portia Simpson Miller and Dr. Peter Phillips.
The PNP has always been a party of diversity, We used to have several vice presidential elections under P.J. Patterson. Just that there was no disrespect involved, there was no abuse publicly. The PNP has always had differences, and differences are not an issue for me. It's how you resolve them. And you can really have civil discussion around fundamental differences. The discussion, for the most part, have been civil, but there is a blame game as to who contributed most to the party's defeat. I think we just all have to take the collective responsibility.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
In the meantime, a high-level meeting is being sought with senior members of the PNP to address the political situation unfolding over the past few days. While speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica this morning, PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell said there will be a discussion on the way forward following the 4 resignations on Friday.
I know to some it may seem as if the house is on fire, but it's an unfortunate situation, but we continue to work. And there is a place in the People's National Party for those persons.
Councillors in the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation are opposed to a proposal for the transfer of Chief Public Health Inspector for the parish, Grayson Hutchinson. Mr. Hutchinson told councillors about the plans to move him from the parish at the recent monthly meeting of the Municipal Corporation.
Chief Public Health Inspector for St. Catherine Grayson Hutchinson making a revelation to councillors in the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation recently.
There is a proposal on the table, and I believe that it's reasonable for me to mention it, for me to be transferred to Kingston and St. Andrew, and for the Chief Public Health Inspector for Kingston and St. Andrew to assume the role in St. Catherine.
The chairman of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation, Norman Scott, did not hide his disagreement with the transfer proposal.
I find it very unfortunate when we have someone who understands the parish, who knows the parish, who is getting the work done. You want to move him at a time like this. You know, I really, and so Mr. Hutchinson, I'm very furious hearing about it now. I must say, there's not much we can do, but we are going to make nice about it.
Mr. Hutchinson says discussions about the transfer are continuing.
And in the event that I'm not seen at the next General Council meeting, then you would have known what transpired.
And from the mere fact, that you mention it in a manner like this, it indicates to us that you prefer to stay in St. Catherine.
Mr. Hutchinson says he did not wish to comment on whether he preferred to stay in the parish. The councillors say they are not against transfers, but they want dialogue.
He was here with us for a number of years before, and now becomes a part of the parish, doing such a tremendous work, only to be told now that he's going to Kingston. These things are not fair, and the persons that are coming to St. Catherine is going to take a long time to learn and know about St. Catherine.
The councillors say they will invite Minister of Health Dr. Christopher Tufton or a representative to its next meeting in September to provide an explanation. Cody-Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
Back to the developments in the People's National Party now. PNP supporters are reacting to the resignation of the 4 senior members.
Following the leadership challenge in the People's National Party in September nearly 2 years ago, commentators say the 83-year-old political organization has since been on the downhill slide. The resignation of the 4 heavyweights within the party sent shockwaves throughout the national political landscape. And now, supporters are making their voices heard just months before the PNP conference.
Everybody have their own right to do what they want to do. And it's pretty much disappointing where we're going because we know them on their stalwart, as I say, heavyweight. Yeah? But maybe it's for the good or the betterment of the party, for the leader to have a clear run to you know, get him thing intact.
Them big man in a long time. But at the wrong this time, make them see, because them one they might get no, them not feel them one there, because them one they are the rebel is not the PNP. So at the wrong, him should have make them see and go and work with them. So the PNP now go strong again.
When TVJ News arrived in East Kingston, the pain from PNP loyalists was clear.
This time, when we believe that, you know, working towards a oneness, something like this happened. It's really jerking, and that goes to show that something, when you see somebody like Philip Paul take a position like this, shows that something is happening in the party very seriously.
When he was coming in, he was saying he would have been the person to unite the party. This is never what we would have expected. So, for me, you can see that he's not a man of his words.
In the midst of all of this, Mark Golding's leadership has been under scrutiny, with some suggesting that he should step aside. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
And it's now time for a break here on the Midday News, but please stay with us. We'll have much more when you return. Welcome back. We're continuing the news. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is promising another $20 million to continue work on the Brownstown Market in St. Ann. Mr. McKenzie toured the market district recently following improvement work which now sees vendors using the inside of the market. Shamala Pullen reports.
Vendors are now off the sidewalk in Brownstown, St. Ann. It's an unusual sight as there was congestion, especially in the market area.
Well, businesses pick up from the road, pulling at the market, everybody coming and shop. Near and far. You don't have to have a customer. People pass and you have things but they want to have much a pound and they buy. and leave.
But there's a concern. One vendor wants the market to close at a later time.
They might like 7 o'clock. So we have begged them, please give them more time because the supermarket them are closing like 9 o'clock. So if we lock 7 o'clock, no sense doing that. You understand? If they can make it lock like 9 with the supermarket, that will be more balanced. Because the curfew is like 11 o'clock is the curfew.
But local government minister Desmond Mackenzie says the local authorities will not be able to please everyone. During a tour of the market, Mr. Mackenzie said for the most part he was satisfied with what he saw. He's hoping the vendors will maintain the area.
Not only have they improved the condition, but I have noticed also that they have done a significant amount of work in bringing some semblance of order to the front of the market as it relates to the traffic. The vendors must be commended because without their support, you would not have been able to do what was done.
Mr. Mackenzie is also pledging more funds to continue work on the market. He's hoping that the second phase of the project will be completed by August this year.
Additional $20 million to complete the project at Brownstown, to continue the work on the market and to do the work on the sidewalks and to paint the town, to give a new life, a new look to Brownstown. It's a commitment that as a government we have made to improve rural communities, and we are going to be moving on Brownstown.
We are looking forward to the project that we are going to be doing with the murals that Minister has committed to once again. So we're looking forward to a brand new Brownstown, step by step, as we work together as a team.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
To other news now, a shipment of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine to Jamaica has been delayed because of riots in South Africa. The supplies were due on Friday. Chairman of the National Health Fund, Howard Mitchell, says the island was expected to receive about 150,000 doses of the vaccine. It's now unclear when the shipment will arrive.
Because of the riots in South Africa, which have prevented workers at the Aspen Johnson & Johnson factory in South Africa from getting to work to package and transport the vaccines intended for the Caribbean and CARICOM. I am hopeful that early in the week to come, we will have word of shipment because the situation in South Africa would have stabilized.
Still on COVID-19, the country recorded 85 new cases on Sunday. The overall case count is now 51,220. This brings the positivity rate to 8.7%. 2 new deaths were recorded, pushing the death toll to 1,157. Meanwhile, 91 persons remain in hospital. 10 are critically ill. There are 3,014 active cases. Backlash this afternoon to the announcement by the government that it will incorporate the Jamaica Urban Transit Company JUTC buses and trains into some rural sections of the island. Rural transport operators called a meeting on Friday to discuss the move. Codian Barrett reports.
Come September, the Jamaican Urban Transit Company JUTC, which operates in the Kingston metropolitan area, is expected to operate the Linstead to Old Harbour route. But that move is not being taken well by the president of the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Service, TODS, Egerton Newman.
The idea of having the JUTC go to Linstead or any other such area in or outside of St. Catherine, to me, is total nonsense. I just want to make it very clear. The JUTC have a license to operate in the KMTR, and as far as I know, the KMTR does not include Linstead.
The issue is, with JUTC operating in rural areas, transport operators fear they will lose profits.
I cannot allow the government to take away the resources of the taxi operators and the bus operators who goes to Linstead by putting a JUTC bus on that route, or for even the train. I understand discussing train. We're not going to go for that. That's why we're not going to go for Uber. We're not going to go for JUTC bus going to Linstead.
And although the plan is to only transport students, the General Secretary of TODS, Diane Dennis, says she's not falling for it.
In the face of rising operational costs and our revenue being so grossly reduced, we cannot sit idly by and allow the government to cut into our revenue by inserting JUTC, using the back door to say they're going to be carrying children, because that's how they started with all the programs. The bus that goes as far as there was said to be carrying on the children. Now it carry everybody.
While commending the government for implementing a system for students, Mayor of Spanish Town and the chairman of the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation, Norman Scott, raised another issue, the cost to maintain operations.
I don't know if they have found a new way or system to make it less burdensome on the pockets of taxpayers. Because, let me tell you, questions are going to be asked. What is the cost of this to the taxpayers of this country?
TODS says it will be seeking legal advice to determine whether the JUTC can legally operate outside of the Kingston Metropolitan Region. Cody Ann Barrett, TVJ News.
And for the latest on the economy, here once again is Cody Ann Barrett with the Business Minute.
In the world of business, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, Richard Pandohi, is stepping down. Mr. Pandohi served for 2 consecutive terms from 2019 to 2021. The JMEA has scheduled an annual general meeting for Wednesday, which will focus on selecting a new president to guide the association for the calendar year 2021 to 2022. Cygnus Real Estate Finance Limited has announced a prospectus for its initial public offering of ordinary shares on the main market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. The invitation opens for subscription at 9 a.m. on Friday, July 23, and closes 4:30 p.m. on Friday, August 20, 2021. The company has announced that allotment will be on a first-come, first-served basis. And in news in oil prices fell sharply on Monday after OPEC agreed to boost oil production by 400,000 barrels per day on a monthly basis starting in August. The news comes after the International Energy Agency warned that the major oil producers' failure to agree on supply increases could elevate fuel prices, stoking inflation and weighing on the COVID recovery. The aim is to reduce prices and ease pressure on the world economy. The price of Brent crude oil is up 43% this year to almost $74 a barrel. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
Now for a look at what's coming up in a ray of hope this evening in Primetime News, here's Karen Morgan.
Coming up in this evening's edition of A Ray of Hope.
I started saving up my lunch money. I've had lots of nice feedback. I've had so many people supporting me. I want to treat myself nice, and I also want to try my best to try and help homeless people.
Here now is a look at the top regional and international stories.
The government of Barbados has called on the Biden administration in the United States to end the embargo imposed on the island of Cuba, stating that bringing it to an end is the morally right thing to do. In a statement on Saturday, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade of Barbados, Dr. Jerome Walcott, said the time has come for the United States to show leadership. The Foreign Affairs Minister added that almost half a century ago, the first 4 independent CARICOM member states took the decision to establish relations with Cuba. On the international scene, in Germany, the death toll from severe flooding is nearing the 200 mark, while hundreds more are still missing. Rescue operations have been underway in western German states. Meanwhile, more flash floods have devastated towns in parts of eastern Germany over the weekend. And that's it for your international roundup. I'm Shamela Pullen.
And we now head to a quick break. When we come back, Renardo Brown will have the Midday Sports Report.
Welcome back. It's now time for your Midday Sports. Players and support staff from the Jamaica Premier League started receiving their COVID-19 vaccines this morning. But are all persons willing to take the jab? We put that question to some coaches and players at the weekend.
We had a poll amongst the players about 3 or 4 months ago, and there was an overwhelming majority of them who were happy to take the vaccine. So,
for me personally, no, for health reasons why, and it's a good thing. I mean, I'm not going to knock the vaccine because in order for us to get back to normality, they say most entire population, need to get the vaccination.
Up to the players. Now, I mean, some want, some don't want. Now, I mean, but I told them that if you want to play soccer right now, you have to do it.
Well, it's everybody's personal choice, but we try and implore our players that to get vaccinated would help them and them families to assist the country in getting back to normal. So we encourage them to take it. We can't force them, but we encourage them to take it.
So I can tell you that it is taking quite a bit to really convince them. They are not really gung-ho on it, but I think individual education is going to do the job.
No, I don't sure about it.
So you don't sure, what you're not sure about? If you want to take it?
You want to take it or not?
Or you're not sure if you're still undecided?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 7-time winners Portmore United will look to move to the top of the table in the Jamaica Premier League as they face Tivoli Gardens at the Captain Horace Burrell Centre of Excellence this afternoon. Portmore United are 4th in the table on 6 points, while Tivoli Gardens are 7th on 4 points. Leaders Harbourview have 8 points. Reggae Boys forward Bobby Reid could know by later today if he will be available for the team's final Group C game against Costa Rica at the CONCACAF Gold Cup on Tuesday. Reid, who is asymptomatic, has been in isolation since last week Thursday after he tested positive for COVID-19. He and the rest of the team were tested this morning and are expected to receive their results later today. But even if he returns a negative, the decision on when he will be allowed to rejoin the team rests with CONCACAF, who will determine if additional tests will be required. Cricket now, as England levelled their 2020 international series at 1-1 against Pakistan following a 45-run victory in Leeds on Sunday. After losing a high-scoring chase in the first T20, England were bowled out for 200, one delivery short of 20 overs. Stand-in captain Jos Buttler, who sat out the opening game, top scored with 59. First match centurion Liam Livingstone, 38, and Moeen Ali, 36, also got among the runs. Mohammad Hasnain was the pick of the Pakistan bowlers with 3 for 51. Now, after posting 50 for the first wicket, Pakistan were restricted to 155 for 9 from their 20 overs. Opener Mohammad Rizwan top scored with 37, while Shadab Khan ended not out on 36. Shakib Mahmood picked up 3 for 33 for England. And finally, visitors India took a 1-0 lead in their 3-match one-day international series against Sri Lanka after recording an easy 7-wicket win in Colombo on Sunday. Electing to bat, the host could only manage 262 for 9, of which Chamika Karunaratne top scored with 43 not out. Dasun Shanaka chipped in with 39, while Charit Asalanka made 38. 5 Indian bowlers got among the wickets, with Deepak Chahar, Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav getting 2 each. Now, in their time at the crease, India got to victory at 263 for 3 in 36.4 overs. Opener Shikhar Dhawan led the way with 86 not out and got support from Ishan Kishan, 59, and man of the match Prithvi Shah, 43. Game 2 of the series will be played on Tuesday. And that's it for your midday sports. It's back to you, Giovanni.
Thanks so much, Renata. And that's it for your midday news. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, the sports, and the production teams, have a good afternoon.